Mouth breather. 7 years ago, not so much with the fourscore part actually, just 7 years ago, 2014, there was a social event known as Gamergate, which I was not paying attention to at the time. I came into I was using YouTube a little at the time, but I didn't start being a really passionate devotee of the site until a couple of years later. And when I started using the site, I was not paying too much attention to this sort of thing, which at the time I would have kind of dismissed as BS politics. So I missed Gamergate happening at the time and then found out about it after the fact. But it was a pretty big deal for a lot of swathes of the internet, particularly a lot of it raged around on Twitter, which I think at that point I had already been banned from for completely unrelated reasons, and had never really seen the point of anyway. I always thought that 140 characters wasn't enough to express any thought worthy of being expressed, but anyway. So Gamergate was a highly controversial event, which many people saw one way and many people saw another way, and since I wasn't there, I won't really get into that. But it affected a lot of people who already had YouTube careers, and it gave rise to several new YouTube careers, and one of these was the man who would eventually become my basically second favorite content creator on all of YouTube for a period of time, roughly 2016 through more or less the present. I can't currently think of anyone else who has taken his place, even though he has sort of given up the throne. But anyway, if I didn't say already, his username was Tealdeer. He's never revealed his real identity quite intentionally, but he created very lengthy and very thoroughly researched articles talking about various social science kind of issues and anti-feminism and, in his own words, pointing out the stupidity of everyone, which kind of spoke to me because I've always rather had the attitude that is a thing that needs doing for many, many years of my life. Despite not being as smart as I think I am a lot of the time, I do think that anti-intellectualism needs to be challenged, and even if I'm not up to the degree of intellectual rigor necessary to always cite your sources and meticulously document where you learn everything and critically examine all of your beliefs to make sure that they are reflective of reality. All that stuff is definitely things that should be done that I am not up to the effort of doing. But so Tealdeer was up to the effort of doing them and did a spectacular job at times. So I was in the process of the other day I was in the process of rewatching through his entire back catalog, and so last night I stopped halfway through one of his longer live streams, not really one of the more interesting pieces he's done, but I was wanting to watch everything, not just his good stuff. And so I put my phone down. I have a phone now. I'm still doing my videos on the crappy webcam and not on the phone because of reasons, but so I put the phone down and went to bed for the night, and then when I woke up this morning, I found that all of his videos were now set to private. And after I was through panicking just about and going, oh no, this is terrible, the worst thing ever, and investigated what had happened and found a post by him explaining why he did this and left some comments. And over the course of several comment exchanges, which I initially posted not expecting to get an answer, but as it happened, he did provide an answer, and so we talked back and forth, and so the long and the short of it is YouTube has been screwing over his channel royally in very well documented ways for a long time, and so he finally had one too many of these incidents and just wanted out. And I can't really disagree with his reasons for that, because the situation he was reacting to was completely stupid, and frankly, I don't see how it can possibly be legal, but I'm not a lawyer, so we'll leave that alone. But anyway, in the course of the conversation, I managed to persuade him that he would be doing a service to the world if he allowed his YouTube content to remain accessible to anyone who has had an involvement with it, or anyone who becomes involved with anyone of that sort. So rather than privating everything, got him to put it all as unlisted instead and demonetized, which he had initially not wanted to do because he figures YouTube will still make money at his expense, and I hope that he's wrong in that, but he had reason for thinking that, and anyway, so YouTube has been doing a lot of screwy things. I am not as far down the road of thinking that it's a completely horrible company as he is, but I do agree that it does a lot of shady things that it should not be doing, so not arguing his point. But anyway, I managed to talk him into the idea that the community of people who have been devotees of his work for 7 years should be allowed to continue watching it on YouTube. It is also, some of it is also being hosted on other platforms, but either those platforms don't have all his work, or they have it with various problems associated. Like I tried one of these services and found it to have incredibly low bandwidth, so that the video, when playing, would stop for 5 seconds out of every 10 seconds that it tried to play, something horrible like that. It was just borderline useless, and so and so I maintained in the comment discussion that YouTube still kind of has to be the thing, even though they have problems, and he was persuaded to put his videos from private back to unlisted so that they can still be viewed. Almost all of his videos are on the playlists that I've constructed, and the ones that I have seen and not assigned to a playlist, I'm going to make sure to get that done, so that they will all be on playlists that anyone can find by looking on my channel. There are, of course, many other people who have done similar things, but I'm trying to do it exhaustively to make sure that every one of TLDR's videos can be found on one of the playlists that I've devoted to him, and anybody can look up my channel, find those playlists, and find his videos. And so hopefully anybody who does not want to follow him to those other platforms for any of the various reasons can still find his stuff on YouTube, which, I believe that this is the right thing to do, and in the midst of a rather severe depressive spate, which is also why I haven't been recording videos for a long time, the fact that I was able to perform this very minor humanitarian task and get the community of YouTubers to have access, including myself and anyone else who is still primarily on YouTube rather than the other services, to get the access back to these things. So I feel good about myself after having accomplished that, and that's I needed that little boost. So I feel bad for the guy that he was driven to despair like this, but he was not driven so far into despair that he just lost it all caring for all of humanity and didn't care anymore, which is a thing that several of my creators that I've enjoyed in the past have done. There was a webcomic that I used to follow called Nascent, which was based on the universe of the Magic the Gathering card game, and the guy who was making it disagreed so vehemently with the corporate direction of Magic's company owners that after making a little over 100 strips of the webcomic, he then obliterated it from the entire internet. And fortunately, I had saved all but one of the pages, so I can still read the thing, but I can't interact with a community of other aficionados who might have been leaving comments on the original comment pages or anything like that. And that one page that I never got around to downloading is now lost to me forever. And there are similar issues around Teal Deer. As I said, I've put pretty much all of his videos on my playlists, but it's possible that there are one or two that I never got around to watching, and now I never will. Because they are no longer findable for anyone who did not already have access to find them. They can't be browsed or searched or anything. If you go and look at his channel, it now shows that he has no videos, even though they're still there, but because they're unlisted, they can't be found anymore. So, hopefully, any of them that were lost in this way are ones that I didn't especially need. I'm not particularly eager to have the one where he reads slash fiction with another anti-feminist who is famously flamboyantly gay. That is not my jam, so I will probably not really miss that one, but it's always possible that something slipped through the cracks, and of course a number of his videos that had been on YouTube were removed for various stupid legal reasons over the years, and this was part of why he became so embittered anyway. So believe it or not, I didn't actually bring all this up because I really wanted to talk about Teal Deer. As is usual for these things, I have rambled on for 12 minutes just as prologue to the actual point that I'm going after, which was to talk more generally about the kind of situation that Teal Deer found himself in. Or rather, that his followers found himself in. So, because he woke up on the wrong side of the bed one day and had one straw too many from YouTube's various perfuckery, Teal Deer went ahead and basically, with the equivalent of a pen stroke, obliterated his entire community of followers, and it is fortunate that he reconsidered this decision. So the community has been restored, but through this and any number of similar instances, a community that has gathered around a YouTuber can be wiped out. A number of my favorite YouTubers over the years have, well, maybe not my favorites for the most part, but a number of YouTubers that I liked on some level or another have gone away in recent times. I've been obsessively tracking, like, the whole reason why I started obsessively tracking all my activity on YouTube was because I could no longer trust Google to maintain full records of everything that I have done for me, because they have proven that whenever the legal winds shift, they are willing to take information that rightfully belongs to me, but is being stored on their servers. They will just take it away because they apparently have the legal right to do that and feel no moral compunctions about it. So my point in bringing this whole thing up was, I mean, it's not really a coincidence that I started with the little Abraham Lincoln joke there. In its own small way, I do believe that there is an issue of human freedom at stake in matters like this. The community that gathers, the community of aficionados that gathers around the work of a particular creative person is, in a very meaningful sense, an actual community. It is not, it doesn't form around a physical location, but ever since the smartphone was invented, and to a lesser extent the internet in general, and to a much lesser extent even things like television, newspapers, and whatnot, all of these have the potential to create communities out of people who, rather than... there is something to be said for the idea of people having to learn how to get along just because they happen to be in physical proximity. There's something there. There's some benefit to the idea of to borrow a Dolly Parton song lyric, if you can't be with the one you love, love the one that you're with. There is something to the idea of making things work even if they're not ideal. But there is also something to be said for having an ideal. So if you are able to find people that you share an interest with and form a community around that, I believe that that's a very vital and important thing to do. And so my real point in recording this video, as usual, I am going to a lot of effort to explain something as if you don't know what it is, even though you will almost certainly only ever see this video if you are into the thing. This is what I did with all my mage stuff and similar geekery. So if you are a Teal Deer viewer or ex-viewer, then you did not really need me to explain him, but I felt compelled to do so anyway. So the target audience of this particular video of mine is actually other people who were fans of Teal Deer's community. As far as I know, and the internet is a big place, so I could easily have just failed to notice this, but as far as I know, there has never really been a fan community that gathered around Teal Deer as an individual and his body of work. But I kind of think that there should have been. I think that if you can have a Wikipedia devoted to some obscure video game, you should be able to have a Wikipedia devoted to, at the time that he pulled the plug on his channel and then hurriedly plugged it back in, Teal Deer had, I believe, 325-ish, something like that, videos, and if you include all the ones that have been taken down but that are perhaps still accessible somewhere, if you knew the right place to look for them, which might be various levels of illegal dark web scariness or whatever, but in any event, somewhere out there there may still be accessible copies of some of his videos on other platforms or just somewhere. So you could probably add another 25 or 50 to that total if you rounded up all of them. So, 350-ish videos. That is quite a substantial body of work. Some of them are nonsense, like the /fic one that I mentioned, but many of them are very well-researched talks along the lines of social science, and many very intelligent people have gathered around this community, and I think that they deserve to have if Teal Deer is no longer going to actively facilitate the community that had gathered around his works, which is completely his right to do, but if he's vacated that position, I think that it needs to be filled. And although I am not in a great position to do so, I feel, having already semi-intentionally managed to do the work of rescuing that stuff from oblivion, I now believe that even though my real-life circumstances could knock me off of the opportunity at any time, I still want to kind of step up and say, if no one else is doing this, then by God, somebody should be doing this. So I want to, for the moment at least, until somebody else comes along, nominate myself as the person who will kind of organize the community around what remains of Teal Deer's YouTube presence. I will certainly encourage other people who find him to, go look at his actual channel, which lists all of his other things, and go follow him on those other platforms, which is what he wants you to do. But if you don't want to do that for any of the various reasons that I don't want to, or, I do a little of it, but all of the reasons why I think the YouTube part still needs to stay, even if YouTube itself doesn't really deserve it, that's where I'm going with this. So anybody who is still here, who is a fan of Teal Deer, and this video is one of the better arguments for why I should bypass my several months long delay and get this uploaded right away after recording it, which we'll see if I feel up to doing that. As usual, real life comes first, and my real life gives me all sorts of problems. Probably not quite as bad as the ones that he described when talking about why he was quitting, but anyway. Whenever I get around to putting this up, I am putting a call out to Teal Deer's fans, if they are still here on YouTube rather than elsewhere. Let's talk. Send me a message. Send me a private message. Leave a comment on my video. I have resisted pimping my channel for a long time, and I will still probably not do very much of it because I feel weird about doing that, which is kind of something that Teal Deer and I have in common. He never wanted to self-promote either, which is a little arrogant of me to say this, but I think that people who have that I don't want to promote myself instinct are kind of the people who should be promoting themselves. I've long felt that people who seek political office do not deserve it, and people who do not seek it probably do deserve it. Not 100%, obviously, but anyway. So, rambling on and on and on for completely unprecedented lengths, as usual. I have too many words to use in saying too little actual content. But this is something that I felt passionately about, and I hope one or two people out there will actually someday hear this clarion call that I am trying to send out, and we can actually start building a new alliance of some sort around the idea of, one of our great saints has passed beyond this realm. Let's take up the flag and build something new in his name.